Hello and welcome to another webinar created by Eggplant. My name is Pritesh Modi and I'm one of the technical consultants here out of the UK office. Today we're going to be talking about Robotic Process Automation, or RPA for short. So what will we be going through today? Well, firstly, what is RPA? We'll go through the benefits of RPA and how it can help businesses. To that effect, we'll also consider some of the blockers of RPA. We'll also have a look at how Eggplant can deliver RPA processes. And then finally, we'll go ahead and have a look at a demonstration of how Eggplant AI can deliver on RPA, followed by some questions. So, what is RPA itself? Well, the process of RPA enables users or enables people, businesses in everyday work life to free up their time by transferring any kind of repetitive tasks across to machines. Now, these can be machines which have robotic software enabled on them, or it could be whereby the utilization of artificial intelligence comes into play. Now, by computers dealing with those repetitive tasks, this frees up the resource capabilities within the business, meaning that these users are now able to go ahead and take on new responsibility and work on more exciting things. But what kinds of things should businesses go ahead and automate? Well, to be honest with you, it could be any kind of repetitive task. Think of it this way. When it comes to RPA or RPA software, you're essentially teaching the PC or the laptop or the computer to perform specific tasks. Once those tasks are put in place, they can then be handled or equally handled by either a scheduler or indeed handled on a continuous effort level. Maybe say once an hour, working once a week, for example. So this opens the scope as to what could actually be automated, such as converting different types of file formats from one thing to another, transitioning files from one huge large database to another, for example. Mass email migration is another fantastic way of utilizing RPA. Any kind of data analysis or report that you want to generate, but it's done on a bi-weekly basis and a bi-monthly basis. You want the RPA solution to go ahead and handle that so that you don't have to, for example. And ultimately, we are talking about freeing up the user's time so that they can go ahead and do more interesting things within their daily work life. However, this all sounds fantastic and brilliant, but there are blockers. First off, the business needs to probably consider and understand, well, okay, is this a short-term or a long-term investment? Idealistically, this would want to be a long-term investment. But given that, an assessment needs to be done as to how much maintenance will be required. Implementing something 1 week because it's something that's valued in the business, but then a month later, the scripts have become obsolete and as a result are no longer used, so the business has gone back to its original method of process, which means they've not been able to maximize on the RPA solution. Also, are there any limitations with the software capability itself? So for example, has the RPA solution got all the hooks into all the different applications that the business uses? Has it got the ability to run on multiple different types of OSs, for example? Also, what is the level of change management or maintenance, for example? Okay, I implement it now, in a month's time, in 2 months' time, how much change will I have to do to keep it current? How much of a cost is that to me at the business level? And then at the end of the day, is it worth the cost? And then finally, who does the RPA strategy belong to? Does it belong to BizOps or DevOps? Does it belong to system administrators? All of these things need to be considered when looking at the RPA solution itself. And here's where Eggplant's suite of solutions can actually help when it comes to RPA. So the way Eggplant DAI works is that you utilize a model that is a digital representation of your application. Now this opens up the landscape to go ahead and stitch any kind of logical permutation into your model, such as we go from process A or state of the application A to state of the application B, and then from state application B it can split off or fork off into C or D. So then you have two kinds of process flows, both of which could be quite intrinsic to, say, for example, data reporting. So say, for example, you generate a process where you have weekly reporting, and then you generate another process where states A and B are exactly the same. However, the final end result is whether it's going to be a month report or whether it's going to be a weekly report, for example. And as a result, you can build these kinds of models into the DAI platform. And then what you can do is by clicking on the grey boxes, which we'd call actions, you'll be able to generate the individual RPA flows that will enable you to go ahead and run them whenever you need to run them. Now, when you combine that process with our scheduling tool, which is Eggplant Manager, you'll be able to take the RPA processes and place them into a scheduler whereby you do not need to think about when these reports are going to be run. You simply set up the schedule, and then come Tuesday, come Thursday, come whenever it is, when it's time outside the office over the weekend, you need to generate those reports. Those reports automatically get generated based on the RPA process that's been provided to the scheduler, which gives you a quick and effective way to orchestrate any kind of RPA process within your business. So what does this actually look like, and how does it work? And this is where we'll come on to the demonstration portion of our presentation. In order to create the RPA flow, we are going to do four things. The first is to create the model. The second is to generate the snippets of code, which we have pre-generated for the purposes of this demo. We will then create the RPA flow itself, and then what we will do is we will connect the RPA flow to the Eggplant Manager schedule. So let's get started with the RPA model itself. So here you can see Eggplant AI's modeling interface, and what we're going to do is we're going to generate the model. Now the model is going to be to access an email account and then send an email. So to start with, as Eggplant AI needs a starting point, we would need to say, for example, open the browser. So let's go ahead and create an action that allows us to do exactly that. The next thing is that because we work in states and actions within Eggplant AI, we need to create a new state. And a state represents a different screen, for example. So in this case, login screen would be acceptable. And then we create two actions within there. Typically on a login screen, we would have the user name and the password. Okay. Then finally what we'll have is a third state. Oh, sorry. Let's delete that. Wrong button. The third state will comprise of generating the email and sending it out. So the email client. And within here, we're going to have an action called compose. We're going to have an action called recipient. We're going to have an action called subject. We're going to have an action called upload. And we're going to have a final action called send. And within the send, we're also going to exit as well. So it tells Eggplant AI that we are now ending the flow. So let's just go ahead and reorganize this so that we're happy with the way it looks. Okay. And now what we can do is we can actually link these different states and actions up. So from open browser, we can go ahead and connect to login screen. And from password, we would want to go ahead and connect to the email client. Now what we also want to do is we want to add our value for our text file that we want to upload. So here we can also add variables to go ahead and do exactly that. My file name, and it's going to be set to text, and it's going to be text file, for example. Okay, so now that the model has been created, what we can then do is apply the snippets of code. To do this, we need to go ahead and create our snippets of code, which we've already done for the purpose of this demo, but just to give you a 2-minute walkthrough on what Eggplant Functional is. So here we can see the snippets of code on the right hand side. And if we were to do a bit of a deep dive, we could see here that when I open up Eggplant Functional, our Fusion engine, you're able to go ahead and create snippets of code that will then connect and be actioned on in the viewer window. So here's what the viewer window is, and typically Eggplant Functional operates on a two-system model. And this is regardless whether you're using objects, whether you're utilizing Gherkin, whether you're utilizing any manner of capabilities that we have within our solution, you'll be utilizing a two-system model. Eggplant Functional will instruct the device to actually perform an action. Okay? So here you can see we'll be able to go ahead and perform these different actions. So here, if I was to go ahead and click on this particular snippet of code, if I was to run this, you'll be able to see that the system under test will actually perform those actions and open up the browser window. Equally, if I was to go ahead and say close, I'd be able to go ahead and do exactly the same thing. So as you can see, Eggplant Functional is the Fusion engine that will take control over the device and run the RPA process, whereas Eggplant AI is the brains and it will drive the RPA process. So here what we can see is that we've got our snippets of code, and what we want to do is we want to attach our snippets of code to our states and actions. And this couldn't be simpler. We just simply click on the action and select the snippet of code that we want to attach it to and click add to selected, and then we just repeat the process. So as you can see, within a few short seconds we would have added all of our snippets of code to our respective states and actions. And as you've probably noticed, I've added a snippet of code to a state as well, to the email client. And then finally, the send action. So there you have it. We have our snippets of code attached. We have our variables defined. We have our exit strategy for the application. Now all that's left really within the second stage of the third stage of the process is to actually go ahead and create our RPA flow. And for this, we're going to use our test case builder. So by clicking on add and build a test case, we can simply now click on the different capabilities to go ahead and perform the actions. Now this is extremely useful when you've got an entire model of an application, for example, and you want to go ahead and create different RPA processes utilizing the same application. So it's extremely useful when an application can go into different flows, and this is where you could actually create multiple different RPA journeys from a single code base, essentially. Now all we need to do is attach or give the RPA process a name. Okay, and it will automatically save. And what we can then do is we can actually go into the test case here and we can actually test it and see, okay, does it actually run okay? So let's just press play here and we'll be able to see the actions being performed on the system under test. And we could go back to the model and have a look as to where it's traversing to. And it will highlight the actions that it's actually going to be going on next. And there you have it, the RPA process is complete. To confirm that that is the case, we can go ahead and open up the email and confirm. We could get Eggplant. Eggplant to go ahead and confirm this, but typically we can also go ahead and look at this ourselves. And you'll be able to see there have been several emails, one of which we've just done. So now that we've gone ahead and created our model, we've created our RPA process flow, and also everything is working. What we can now do is we can now go ahead and attach the RPA process to our schedule. So let's go ahead and do exactly that. So here you can see we have Eggplant Manager, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a schedule for our RPA process. So let's name this. Let's PA_send email. And what we want to do is we want to connect it to a system under test, and we want to go ahead and say create. And now what we can do is we can actually attach the RPA flow that we created in Eggplant AI to this schedule. Now I've already configured Eggplant Manager to connect to the AI modeling solution already, so all we need to do is go ahead and click New Script. And here on the left hand side in this new pop-up window that we see, we'll be able to see that we've got our AI models that we can go ahead and connect to, and I want to go ahead and select the RPA send email, which is the RPA model that we were working on. And then in here, what we can do is allocate the snippets of code that we want Eggplant Manager to connect to, and then select the RPA model that we want to go ahead and select. So here you can see we've already got the test example of RPA here, and we can go ahead and save that. So really what's left now is to go ahead and generate the schedule. So here we can see we've got a schedule section, which when we click new schedule, it opens up another pop-up window that enables us to run a schedule. Now this can be an event outside or inside of normal office hours, and you can do this or implement this in various different ways. Running at gives you a date parameter and a time that you can actually run a specific report for example. You can run every, so giving you a monthly run or a daily run, or even an in-between between days of the week runs as well. So I'm going to set this at every 5 minutes in a few short seconds, but we've also got the ability to run cron jobs as well, so you can go ahead and set these cron jobs up relatively easily. So let's go to run every, and I'm going to run every 5 minutes, and I'm just simply going to go ahead and click on create. Now that that's all in place, everything is active. It's now a waiting game, so we're going to wait while the schedule kicks into play, and it will run the first run. In the meantime, while we're waiting, what we'll do is we'll minimize the window, okay, so that we can also see what happens on the system under test here. And there you have it. We have a successful test that has run all the way through, and the RPA process has run in a scheduled manner. So now we've got a few minutes left for some questions. I can see here we've got a few questions come in. I'll just pick one out. One question: will this put a lot of people out of jobs? I think this is very, very unlikely. It will certainly require businesses and employees of businesses to work smarter. In fact, they will invariably have different tasks to get on with, and typically, where you have it in operations, where because we're doing remedial tasks, we're doing the same thing again and again and again. People will invariably have less time to do interesting things. So with the introduction of RPA, certainly gives people, workforce, staff members, the ability to go ahead and concentrate and focus on more interesting parts of their job, and even maybe take on more responsibility. And as more responsibility is adopted, then obviously more work is created for them. So I don't believe RPA would be something that would take away from jobs. I think certainly it will add value. Another question here: what does the future hold? Where will RPA go? Well, I mean, the IT industry, the software industry is making good levels of headway within AI. We've already seen test automation softwares being rolled out, and also utilizing AI capabilities, such as obviously our product here at Eggplant DAI. But also at the same time, RPA will probably get a bit smarter, be a bit more flexible, utilize different technologies to meet its ends goal. Okay, and as a result of this, more and more processes will probably become more reliant on robotic processing. But in the future, other technologies are out there as well in the testing world. Providing test automation capabilities to help test engineers, to help businesses advance further in building better qualities of products. And it could well be with the introduction of these things, I expect, as technology becomes smarter, testing becomes smarter, processes become more reliable and more stronger and more trusted, you can expect to see businesses run and get the output that they require to run businesses more faster and software from a software perspective, software products being released in a much more expedient approach with fewer bugs. So that's everything from me. Thank you for listening. Thanks for all your questions. If RPA or test automation is something that you are looking for within your products, please feel free to come round to our website at eggplant.io, and we'll be able to assist you further. Thanks very much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.